is a little bit crisper. Everything is a little bit more, how do I put this? It looks like the players just know exactly where they need to be at that point. And you got to give a lot of credit here to Jedd Fisch. A lot of credit here to Jedd Fisch because, let's be honest here. He inherited a train wreck. We've talked about that a great deal, but this is also a guy that has built things up the right way. And we're going to go position by position with what we saw out there. And again, we'd love to get your guys' feedback here. And let's just start at the quarterback position. Everybody was talking about Jayden de Laura. Would Jayden de Laura be able to be, is he going to be as good as he was at Washington State? And I think the one thing about this team and the one thing about this squad right here is that it's going to go as far as the quarterback takes it. And de Laura is a gamer. There is no doubt about it. De Laura is a gamer in that he makes throws. He is able to maneuver around the pocket in a way that you a lot of times just don't see from a lot of major college quarterbacks. You don't really see it last year when it was from Gunnar Cruz or Will Plummer or whatever the case may be. But this is a guy that deservedly has that starting quarterback spot. And, barring injuries, probably going to be running that one this entire season. Very impressed by him out there. And he's getting untouched more with his receivers. And that's something that we're going to have to keep an eye on, obviously. But it's exciting to see out there. And again, this is a player who right now is going to take Arizona as far as they can go. Now, then you're looking at the other guy in there, the player in the room that everybody wants to talk about, and that's Noah Fafeta. Now, right now, Noah Fafeta is your backup quarterback, but anybody that was out there back in the A, and I see you there, Duke, very good work right there. Anybody that was out there back in the A knows that there's something to Noah Fafeta, and I was talking with the great Brian Jeffries about this, and and Lamont Lovett, and both of them said that there is just something to Fafeta in that, when he hits the field, whenever he does hit the field, he's probably not going to be coming off. He's just that type of dude. And if you watch him, and yes, he got one ball batted down at the line of scrimmage. Totally understand that. Not the tallest guy in the world, but he's able to roll out. He's able to maneuver around in the pocket, and he's just able to make plays out there in a way that is just natural for him. Right now, I am totally in on what I saw right there from the quarterback position. We're going to get to the O-line there, or we're going to get to both lines there in just a second. Now, talked about the quarterback spot. JDL looked good. Noah Fafeta looked good. Now, let's talk a little bit about the running back position right there. And, between Speedy Luke, again, no relation to me, but between Speedy Luke, Jonah Coleman, there is some new talent that has certainly been infused along that on that offensive backfield. And right now, that's incredible. That's exciting. Now, Jonah Coleman is another one of those players, again, about 5'8", probably about 200 pounds, maybe a little bit more, but he's got some vision to him. He's not a breakaway guy like a Speedy Luke, but he is able to hit the field. He's able to get into there, and he's also able to get into that secondary, and he can push some guys around. Big fan of Jonah Coleman, and we've talked about this before, but I do think that he is going to be the player that is going to be that bell cow at some point. Now, again, he's a true freshman, so who knows exactly when that point's going to hit, but he does seem to have a little bit of that next level oomph to him, for lack of a better term, that you're looking for. And again, we're going to talk about Speedy Luke. We're going to be talking about him a great deal throughout the season, and he didn't disappoint. He's a little guy. Everybody knows that, but he's also, football comes naturally to him. You can tell he's not the player that is going to get into the backfield and not know and not have any kind of idea where he's going to go. He can see creases, he can see lanes, and that's where he's incredibly impressive. I don't know how many carries, I don't know how many touches he's going to get per game, but he's going to probably be in somewhere in that 5 to 8 to 10 range, something like that. I think that's what you're looking at right there. So that's kind of what you saw right now from the quarterbacks and the running backs. Now, Nick Howard says, let's talk a little bit about the O-line. By the way, Nick, I'm not ignoring you on the text or on the, on the tweets. I will be responding to you tonight. Was just up at the game though. So, but let's talk about the O-line. This to me is the biggest concern on the team. And I think you're okay at that start on the starting line. And I think that manifested itself for the most part with Jordan Morgan and Peyton Fears. I think you're solid at those tackle positions. And then with Josh Donovan, Josh Baker, and Jonah Savanea, you've got some experience, you got some size, and you've also got some physicality right there. I'm okay with that line. Again, I don't think it's a great line, but I think it's okay. But they're going to have to stay healthy. And you saw that again during the scrimmage. You saw that when some of those second team linemen were in there, it became more of a struggle. It became those lines were getting blown up. And that's not what you want to see if you're Arizona. So again, you're going to have injuries. It's going to be imperative to find some depth around there. But right now, maybe get a Leif Magnuson, somebody like that. But those 5 got to stay healthy. And because after that, it's a little bit of there's a lot of question marks, to be honest with you. But overall, though, just on the offensive side of the ball, I was happy with what I saw. There were quick decisions that were being made by the quarterbacks. There were a couple great throws. I mean, I can't tell you again, a couple throws that Jaden Delora made to Jacob Cowing were next level. By the way, we're going to talk about Jacob Cowing here in a little bit because that is the best player on this team right here and what exactly you do with Jacob Cowing. But between the quarterbacks and what they're able to do, zinging the ball around the field, I like what I saw. Now, the line's going to have to give them a little bit of help, obviously. But let's talk now about the wide receivers. The wide receivers, if everybody out there, you know, the wide receivers are the strength of the team right here. And that's not going anywhere. That's not going to change. That's going to be their bell cow all season. But before we get into that, real quick, let's talk about the DraftKings Sportsbook app, code word PHNX. All right, here's the deal. You can put down a minimal deposit and you can get up to $1,000 in free plays. That's simple, that easy. Arizona only, 21 and up. If you got a gambling problem, call 1-800-NEXT-STEP. They will get you all taken care of. But again, I love the over of a 2.5. I am backing the A to the fullest on this one. And if you back the A, get on the DraftKings Sportsbook app. And if you want to gamble, this is the place to go. Take the over 2.5. Say Mike Luke sent you. Or again, if you think I'm an idiot, go against me. But either way, that's the place you want to be. The DraftKings Sportsbook app, code word PHNX. They will get you all set up right there. All right. At the wide receiver spot, guys, ladies, this team is loaded. This team is this might be the deepest receiving core that I've ever seen at the U of A. And I go back quite a ways here with this team. With this program. Now, let's talk about Jacob Cowing first. Anybody that's watched him, anybody that's seen the practice right there, you know that this is a player that is next level. This is what an NFL player looks like. He's the best player on the team. He can get behind defenses. He can get over the middle. They have him returning kicks. He's never returned kicks before. I'm a little reticent about that. We will get to that in just a minute. But right now, Jacob Cowing is that guy. And if he's on an NFL roster next year, I don't think that anybody in the least bit is going to be surprised by that because he is that dude. I am a little worried about him as far as returning kicks because, again, he's not the biggest guy in the world. But there's a next level factor to him. And if Jed Fish really wants to get him the ball, then I'm going to trust Jed Fish on that one because with Jacob Cowing, there is a lot to like there. Because again, we talked about it with Speedy Luke. There is, with football players, there is a little bit of some guys are fast, some guys make you miss, some guys can do a little bit of everything. And Jacob Cowing is a natural football player. And Nick will get to that in just a moment. But again, watch him. This is a guy that's going to be going over 1,000 yards. I don't think that there's any doubt about that. And he'll probably be in the NFL next year. Tatora McMillan. Everybody wanted to know T-Mac, the highest rated player to come through to the U of A at a skill position. Big time talent. He caught that fade in the end zone right there. You're going to be seeing a lot more of that. I would actually like to see him maybe not catch the ball as much just in those situations and be used as your traditional wide receiver. But he's big time. He is going to be a player that is going to cause problems for defenses for as long as he's here. Certainly a next level NFL type player. Then you look over there and you look at that. You look at the other wide receivers. A.J. Jones, UCLA transfer, stuck out. He looked incredibly interesting right there. Caught that long pass, 6'4", big dude. Not sure how much he's going to play this year, but stuck out. Again, Jamari Joyner with another really nice game as well. Jamari's been sticking out. And again, at that receiver spot, they're loaded. We didn't even mention Kevin Green, who I'm going to throw my hot take out there right now. I think Kevin Green is going to be the player that leads here in this recruiting class as the most distinguished as far as having the most yards. I think he's that guy. But big tip of the cap to Jedd Fisch on this, because he came in last year. He was lacking some talent at that receiver position. And in one recruiting cycle, he totally overhauled it. So we'll see what this means. But right now, this is a guy that's going to be next level. Now, Vincent Kwan asked about Dorian Singer. Singer's solid across the board. I don't know that Singer has kind of the game-breaking capabilities that some of these other players do, but Dorian Singer, as long as he's at the U of A, is going to be in that rotation. He's going to be that player who you can probably count on getting 40 catches for 500 yards throughout the season. He's that guy. Dorian Singer was very solid out there. Big fan of him. Always been a big fan of him. So that's kind of where you look at the offense. And again, I think that this offense is going to be significantly improved. Not saying it's going to be great, but I think it's going to be significantly improved. And I think that they're going to be able to win some games with this offense right now. Now, let's talk a little bit about, and let's see, Nick Howard says, more push ball down the field or the short stuff we saw last year. I think you're going to see a little bit of both. But what's very interesting, though, is that you've got the guys now that can get deep, and you've got quarterbacks and you can get them the ball. So I do look for offense. I do look for an offense in both ways to be able to beat you with the short passing game and also beat you with the long passing game. There's a lot to work with right there. So let's get to the defensive side there in just a second, and we're going to work backward. We're going to talk corner, then we're going to talk linebacker. I don't believe that Joyner's going to play any QB this year. Could be wrong. Mario Mesa, as you know, back the A, my man. Appreciate you all. So, but let's talk now about the cornerbacks. Also want to tell you about Four Peaks Brewery, the official brew of PHNX. Check it out. Great raffles going on. You can go to Go PHNX. You can check it out on the website. All kinds of stuff right now. And right now, I am very impressed by what I've seen, though, from Four Peaks. Check it out. Great brew. All right. Now, let's see here. I don't see Joyner throwing any passes, but David Matola, appreciate your kind words right there. You're fantastic. Appreciate all of you. Now, let's talk about the defensive backfield first, and then we'll work our way in. There's some length right there. And Vincent, Stooks should be good, but they're going to take time with him. I don't believe it's anything serious, but they're going to take some time with him, as they should. Now, defensively, this team right now they're not going to be great by any means. As a matter of fact, I could see their numbers being somewhat similar. But right now, on the defensive side, you could tell, and Jedd Fisch has talked about this from day one, that he wants to get bigger across the board. If he's going to miss because he's missing big. And you just look at the corners right there between Epesian's Prysock at 6'2" and Epesian's Prysock at 6'2", Takario Davis at 6'3". That's the future of those DBs right there. Both those guys have Sunday looks to them. I'm not sure how much they're going to play this year, but right now they're going to be in that rotation, and it wouldn't surprise me at all if by next year they've locked down 2 starting spots. They look different generally than what you've seen. Now, Sean, we're on the defense right here. Now, at Christian Young, that's just going to be the player that's just he's going to probably be in the box a little bit, kind of in that strong safety role. He's also going to be in the backfield, but he's just got to make plays. I think the other guys, you want to be more of a cover corner situation. But right now, I think that you need Young to be that guy that can make plays either in the backfield or over in the passing game. And I think he's uniquely equipped to be able to do both. Big fan, just got to be able to break through this year. And again, at other safety positions, there's some guys that are certainly being worked in and out. Obviously, you've got a DJ Warnell out of UCLA. They need him to be that kind of that ball hawk back there, that last line in the secondary. And I think that he's got that capability of being able to do that. So that's kind of where you're looking at the secondary. Now, again, Traden Stukes, he should be okay, dealing with a little bit of an injury. But right now, he's the player that will be lining up opposite Christian Roland Wallace. And Christian Roland Wallace, to nobody's surprise, was a big-time player, is probably the linchpin of that secondary. Physical guy. He's going to be somebody that Arizona is going to count on throughout the year. There was nothing in this scrimmage that dissuaded that point of view at all. So overall, I think the secondary can be a strength of this team. I really do. It's going to be difficult to, if there isn't a great pass rush, which we're going to get to in a minute. But overall, I think the talent in the secondary is much better. And you can tell that Jedd Fisch, his whole thing with, being the 33rd NFL team, there's a lot of that's going on right there. And as Nick Howard just says, NFL DBs are getting bigger, and that you're not kidding right there. Okay, now let's get into that linebacker spot, because I think that's maybe the most concerning part of the defense, maybe the most concerning part of the team. But let me tell you first about FOCO. Our guy Brandon Sanders, maybe the hardest hitter that's ever come through the U of A, have talked about FOCO. He's got one of the coolest U of A hats you have ever seen. He backs the A. Check it out right there. You can get all the best merchandise. You can get bobbleheads. You can get all the best paraphernalia you want. Check it out at foco.com. Okay. At that linebacker spot, it's you're going to be running a 4-2-5. So you're only going to have a couple guys out on the field. Now, the first one, Jerry Roberts, is going to be one of those players. I don't think there's any doubt about that. Had a nice year, had a couple nice games last year, but just need him to stay healthy. After that, you got some questions. You got Malik Reed. He's probably going to get the first shot at that big physical guy. And then after that, you've got a Deuce Lane. You've also got an Anthony Solomon. Solid players. But is anybody going to be able to make that move? Because I think Jerry Roberts is going to be solid for the U of A. But is he going to be able to make that move to where, you have somebody next to him that makes his life easier? And came away from this game, and we still don't really know that. We'll know more. I'm curious to see what Jedd Fisch has to say as we go on later in the week. But that's the position to keep an eye on, and there's still a lot of question marks there. It's not that there's question marks because because there's a lot of talent or a lack of talent. It's because there's just not been a lot of guys that have played a ton. So now on the defensive line, I am cautiously optimistic about the D-line right here. And I saw some things again. Hunter Eckles, I believe, has to be that guy, and we've talked about it quite a bit. But Hunter Eckles, the USC transfer, has to be able to get in that 6-7 sack realm. Another player that he's shown out throughout. It's now when the lights come on against San Diego State, he's got to be able to be out there. He's got to be able to perform. And I think he's going to. I think that he could flirt with some all-conference honors. Arizona needs him. Lining up opposite Jalen Harris. Jalen Harris, I believe, is just best when his when his hand is on the ground, getting after the passer. I think he's got really good bend. He's able to get past his guy. He's just got to be able to make it work. He's got to be a 6 or a 7 guy along with Hunter Eckles. And I think they can do that. I have faith in both of them. I'm a big fan. Nick Howard says, are we still undersized at the linebacker spot? Not necessarily undersized. I wouldn't say that, but I would say that this is a team that has a lot of unproven talent, and we're going to have to figure out where everybody does fit in. And if somebody can emerge, whether from a pass rusher, from a run stuffer position, to be able to put in there. We're going to find that one out for sure. So let's get to the D-line. And for the longest time, How many times have people said, oh, the Arizona D-line, the Arizona D-line, the Arizona D-line? The Arizona D-line is different now. We're now at the point where at that D-tackle position, we have expectations. And Keon Bars is that player that you should have expectations for because, again, he's second-team all-conference, 5 sacks in 10 games. He's got to be the anchor in that interior that everybody plays off of. And if everybody plays off of him, then you're gonna be more than okay. But again, he's that dude. He's just got to stay healthy. A lot of questions about who's going to line up next to him. Could it be Savea? Could it be Shand? A lot of questions. We don't know that. But overall, I think the defense can be solid. Not great, but I think the defense can be solid. Sean Seeley says, how did the turf look? We're going to get to that in just a moment. I can't tell you how impressed I was by the turf and everything we saw out there. Now, do want to tell you again, got to pay the bills, the DraftKings Sportsbook app, code word PHNX. All right. So you put down the deposit, you can get up to $1,000 in free plays. That's simple, that easy. 21 and up, Arizona only. If you got a gambling problem, call 1-800-NEXT-STEP. But again, this is the time to back the A. This is the time to say, you know what? I like the over 2.5 or I like the over of 3. Say Mike Luke sent you. Well, really don't. Just put in code word PHNX. That's where it's at. And if you want to bet on anything from props to in-games to futures, anything you want, DraftKings Sportsbook app has you covered. Nick Howard just said, did we have 6 sacks as a team last year? We did, but almost all of them came from one player. So, but if you wanted to bet on that, you could probably go to the DraftKings Sportsbook app and you could bet on that. All right, now let's talk special teams. Special teams has been a monstrosity in recent years for Arizona football, and I'm not breaking any news. Everybody knows what we've seen out there. Kyle Ostendorp is a real problem for opposing teams. He's going to be a weapon for Arizona. He is a punter that looks like he could play in the NFL. He's consistent. You can probably bank on a 45, 48-yard net from him, maybe even more. But there's going to be high expectations for him because of what he can do. Tyler Loop, they missed some field goals, but at the same time, you kind of wonder if he's a guy that when the lights come on, he's going to make his because he made them last year. And then at the kick returner spot, you've got Jacob Cowing, who is obviously in that mix right now. I do worry a little bit about Cowing, though, because I don't want him to get hurt. Again, he's the best player on the team. He's the one that can, break defenses. He's the one that can return kicks. All of that. Jacob Cowing is that dude. And then Speedy Luke, that's who I would like to see take over and be that player. I'd love to see Speedy Luke become that running back who, quite frankly, that jack of all trades that gets 8 to 12 touches and 4 of them are on special teams returning kicks. He's not just football fast. He's fast in general. He's next level fast and he's elusive. Arizona needs to utilize him, but I do expect the special teams to be somewhat of a strength this year. All right, now just some of the peripheral stuff. The field looked fantastic. If you're not following on Twitter, if you follow at Iron Mike Luke or PHNX_Wildcats, the field looked absolutely amazing. It's sharp, it's crisp, it sticks out to you immediately. They just got to keep it in good shape, but that is a field that I could see a lot of kids wanting to play on. So, and then just to summarize right here, this is a much better team than last year, folks. This just is. You watch the quarterback spot, it's far more engaged. It's far more in depth. There's way more, just a better connection from the players, from the coaches, everything. And it's going to be exciting to watch how this team does play out this year. I'm not going to say they're going to be great, but this is a team that I think should be able to make that next step in year 2 under Jed Fish and get into that 4 or 5 win plateau. I think they have that talent. Give you an idea, when I was watching them last year, I didn't think they had that talent. I thought that this was probably a 1 or a 2 win team. Turned out that was pretty much the case. But when you got a quarterback, when you got dynamic receivers, and you got a D-line that actually could be a strength of your team along with the solid secondary, you could make some plays. Now, again, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that everything is great because there's a lot of questions. I have a lot of questions about the depth on the O-line. You certainly have questions at that linebacker, especially, what the depth is. But this was a very good practice. This was a good scrimmage. And yes, Nick Howard says you got a man crush on Cowing. I absolutely have a man crush on Cowing. He's got to keep playing like that, though, and he's going to make a lot of money. But again, they got another practice here coming up on the 20th. I'd encourage everybody to go out there. It's a great time. The coaching staff is incredibly engaged with the players. The players are fun to watch. They're all having a great time. But, again, everybody, can't thank you enough for hopping on here. We're going to be doing more. Again, we got the season right around the corner. We're going to be doing every post-game show for every single football and basketball game, obviously. You know where to be. This is the only place you need to be. But for everybody out there that made, that commented, that chipped in, I can't thank you enough. Big kudos to Brian Jeffries and Lamont Lovett for allowing me to sit up there with them and basically soak in some expert knowledge. But for everybody out there, again, a big tip of the cap. We will be back with you tomorrow. Wanted to have this on here. Wanted to have a first fall scrimmage, post scrimmage thoughts. But I'm Mike Luke. Everybody out there, again, thanks again. You have been listening to the AZ Wildcats podcast.